Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're going to crack open a really interesting source. It's a model for going way beyond the usual questions when you're trying to understand
Yeah,
something.
especially in situations like, assessing potential hires or predicting performance. It's not about the standard interview playbook at all.
Right. This is about really getting under the surface by focusing intensely, really, on how people respond, not just what they say.
That's absolutely the core of it. The source material we're diving into offers this framework, almost a toolkit. It's designed to pull out information people might not even consciously decide to share.
Or even realize they are sharing.
Exactly. The whole idea is that the gold isn't in the neat answer, it's in the total response you get.
So our mission today is to unpack this model. We'll look at some specific, kind of surprising questions, but the real deep dive is into the observation part. What are you actually watching for? What does a hesitation mean? Or where their eyes go? What does an odd answer tell you? It's about getting real insight, fast. And this is tailored for you, listening in.
Absolutely. We're pulling out the key stuff from this material. The goal is to help you spot those subtle cues, the ones that unlock a ton of information about, say, honesty, behavior, how someone thinks.
And ultimately, are they the right fit?
Right. Fit is crucial.
Okay, let's dive in. The basic philosophy seems simple, but it's powerful. The question is just the prompt. The real info is in the reaction it causes.
Yeah, it's about designing questions that make it pretty difficult to just give a canned answer without showing something else.
And the model kicks off by trying to set a baseline, right?
Yeah.
Get a feel for the person, see how comfortable they are, and gently probe honesty from the start.
It often uses these pairs, like asking, would you rather be effective or efficient? And then following up with, would you rather be successful or significant?
Now, in this context, it's not about getting into a big philosophical chat.
No, not at all.
The material says you're watching the process. How fast do they answer? Is there a pause? And if they hesitate, what does that hesitation look like?
Is it, like, thoughtful? Or does it seem more like uncertainty? Or maybe even like they're trying to figure out the right answer.
And nonverbals are key here.
Hugely. Eye movement is a big one the source mentions. Where do their eyes flick when they're thinking?
And that little glance they might give you right after answering.
Yeah, the confirmation check. Looking to see if the answer landed okay, it's not automatically good or bad, but it's data.
It tells you something about their confidence or maybe their need for approval in that moment.
Exactly. All data points adding to the picture of their thought process.
So, starting simple, building that baseline for observation. Then the model gets into questions meant to open up deeper psychological stuff. There's one that seems really potent. What is the biggest life lesson you would pass down to a child if you could only choose one?
Oh, that's a great one. Because it often gets past prepared responses. It taps into where their head is now.
And it frequently reveals things they've learned the hard way.
Yeah, or things they regret not knowing sooner. It can be a real window into past challenges, maybe even stuff from childhood that really shaped who they are today.
Right. It's about what's truly resonating with them at this moment. And that connects nicely to another question. What do you do that makes you feel most significant?
This one goes straight for their core drivers, their motivations. And here, the model says, you really lean in. Don't just take the first answer.
You follow up.
Definitely. Ask what specifically about it makes them feel that way. Or, can you tell me about a specific time you felt that?
So you're opening up a dialogue.
Yeah, making it more personal. It reveals actual behavior and values through their stories, not just abstract ideas.
Okay, shifting gears quite a bit here. The model uses really ordinary, everyday topics as probes, which is surprising. Like asking, how often do you exercise?
Huh. Yeah, it sounds so mundane, but it has almost nothing to do with their actual fitness routine.
It's a test question, isn't it?
It is, because exercise is something people often, let's say, stretch the truth about. So what the material says to watch for is their directness. Do they answer straight up?
Or do they hesitate, qualify it? Well, I try to. That kind of thing.
Exactly. Someone totally open might just fire back an answer. Someone less comfortable or maybe prone to making things sound a bit better might pause or hedge.
And the right response depends on the context, the role.
Absolutely. The source gives an example. For a sales job, maybe you want that instant, confident answer. But for customer service, maybe a little hesitation showing consideration is actually better.
It's all about the fit.
The how is everything. Then there's a more direct one for behavior. Do you find it easy to trust others? This obviously links to teamwork.
And even if they say yes,
You watch the nonverbals. Does their body language match? Is there openness there? Or do you see subtle signs of caution, maybe from past negative experiences?
okay, here's one that feels like it's designed to make you blink. What was the last time you broke the rules and enjoyed it?
That's a fascinating one, isn't it? It probes honesty again, but also openness and how they view rules and boundaries.
And the source says to watch if the enjoyment they mention matches their expression.
Yeah. Do they genuinely smile? Do they seem relaxed talking about it? Their reaction gives you clues about their decision-making, how they might operate in a team. Are they constructively pushing boundaries or maybe just disruptive?
And sticking with trust and internal dynamics. If you were with someone you trusted, would it be more fun to let them take the wheel or for you to drive?
This gets into their basic psychology around control. Do they hesitate? Do they add qualifiers like, well, depends who?
Or give extra info you didn't ask for?
Right. All that tells you about their comfort level with letting go, with collaboration versus wanting to be in charge. Like the internal wiring, really.
The model also uses these quick, almost rapid-fire questions, partly to build those observation baselines, like for eye movement.
Yeah. And also to check on things like personal structure, like asking pretty directly, what were you doing at 11 p.m. last night?
Which sounds intense, but it's not really about their plans.
No, it's mainly a baseline tool. You watch their eyes as they access that memory. The process of recall is more important than the answer itself. Though, yeah, you get a tiny hint about their habits, too.
And then quickly follow with, what time do you go to bed?
This one gauges discipline, structure. Do they give a specific time, or do they say usually, or it depends?
And asking it quickly helps get a less filtered response.
That's the idea, yeah. The speed can sometimes prompt a more immediate, less thought-through answer.
Okay, now, before maybe asking a heavier, more psychological question, the model sometimes throws in something totally unexpected, like, can you text as quickly with one hand as you do both?
It seems so random, but it's tactical. It breaks the pattern, introduces something new, maybe makes them think physically for a second.
Kind of a mental palate cleanser.
Sort of, yeah. And you're still observing eyes, hands, any hesitation. It just slightly resets the focus before you go into something deeper.
Which could be this one, aimed at psychological state and locus of control. Is there someone who continuously lets you down?
Oof. Yeah, that's a big one. And the source emphasizes how they answer. Do they start to say one thing and then change? Is it just a flat yes?
Do they get emotional? Or launch into a long story where they sound like a victim?
Exactly. And that links directly to locus of control. Do they see themselves as constantly being acted upon by others? That's external locus? Or do they show some understanding, maybe even responsibility, internal locus? It reveals a lot about how they approach life's difficulties.
Right. And connecting that internal feeling to how they see the world, there's the question, do you believe what goes around comes around?
This can bring out a whole range of views. The material says listen for the feeling behind the answer. Is it about balance or is there an edge to it?
An edge how?
Well, the source warns that someone who strongly believes in, like, punitive karma might see themselves as morally superior. And if they feel wronged,
They might feel justified in dishing it out themselves, like their karma.
that's the potential concern raised. You might even see a flash of anger discussing it. It suggests a different reaction than someone who just thinks, well, bad stuff happens sometimes.
And the source actually links this worldview back to team fit, using a really stark example about interviewing a nanny.
Yeah, it suggests this kind of worldview could lead to, say, retaliation or neglect if they felt slighted by the employer because they'd see it as deserved karma. It shows how abstract beliefs can hint at real-world behavior risks.
Wow. It really drives home that there isn't a right answer, but every answer tells you something about suitability.
For sure. Then, probing self-perception again. What was the last great compliment you received?
This isn't just making conversation. How fast do they remember it? What kind of compliment did they choose?
It shows what they value, what makes them feel proud, what kind of praise motivates them.
It could also reveal insecurities, right? If they pick something they secretly doubt.
Or the opposite. The source mentions someone proudly saying they were called an asshole. That tells you a lot about their values and self-image, potentially in a challenging way.
Thinking about handling mundane situations or being alone, there's this question, when was the last time you had a long drive?
And notice the wording, had a long drive, not went for or enjoyed.
Ah, subtle. So it focuses on the experience itself.
Right. As they think about it, you watch their face. Do they look bored, stressed, calm? It hints at how they cope with potentially tedious tasks, how they feel about solitude or travel.
And do they mention family or friends in that context, or just the drive itself?
Exactly. More data
The
points.
model also has these deviance measurements, as the source calls them, designed to loosen things up a bit.
Yeah, and reveal social skills, openness, like asking, have you ever toilet papered someone's house?
Or do you curse around your parents? These should probably get a smile.
Ideally, yeah. They gauge comfort with minor rule bending. For the TP question, do they just say yes, no, or tell a quick story? Shows openness. And maybe if they know where the line is between fun and going too far.
And the cursing one, what's that revealing?
It's flexibility in different social settings, maybe how they handle stress, possibly clues about their upbringing. The source also notes watching how they handle it if, say, their parents have passed away, gracefully, or using it for pity.
Interesting. There's also a quick one mentioned. The first thing you notice about an attractive person.
The diagnostic purpose, according to the source, is just to elicit smiles, maybe see visual accessing eye movements, and get a quick read on social awareness or savvy.
Okay, bringing it back to work history. The model pairs a forward-looking question with a backward-looking one first. What are you most excited about working with us if you get the job?
Here, you're just looking for genuine energy, specifics, not just a generic answer they think you want to hear.
And contrasting that with, what is the biggest challenge you had with a previous employer?
This brings us back to locus of control again. How do they frame past problems? Is the old boss pure evil? Are they the flawless hero?
Or is there some nuance? Maybe even acknowledging their own part in it?
Right. And if the answer is very one-sided, blaming everyone else, the crucial follow-up is, what did you learn about yourself during that challenging time?
This is the key differentiator.
Totally. The material gives examples. If they say, I learned I shouldn't work at toxic places, or I learned people are just out for themselves.
They haven't really learned about themselves.
Exactly. Still externalizing all the blame. That's what the source argues.
Whereas if they say something like, I learned I need to communicate better, or I realized I avoid conflict and need to address that.
That shows self-reflection, an internal locus. They're more likely to adapt and grow, not just repeat patterns and point fingers. It signals less potential toxicity for your team.
Okay, shifting to thinking style now. There's a creativity test. On paper, list uses for a broom handle and a poncho. 2 minutes.
Yeah, this is a divergence test. Unlike standard IQ tests, which are about convergence, finding the one right answer, this is about generating possibilities.
And the source mentions high IQ doesn't always mean good performance here.
Right. It's a different kind of thinking.
Yeah.
So while they do this, you're watching a few things. Do they combine the items? Like make a tent or something?
Do they ask lots of questions first?
Yeah.
Suggesting maybe they need a lot of direction?
Yeah, could indicate a need for micromanagement. Or do they start with really obvious uses, like sweep with the handle, wear the poncho suggests logical, maybe linear thinking?
Versus someone who jumps straight to weird creative uses.
That might signal strong creative potential, maybe good for marketing, maybe less suited for, say, a finance role where structure is paramount. The range of answers and where they start tells you about their dominant mode.
And the source even mentions watching their face while they write, and noting if they chose a pen or pencil if offered both.
Tiny things. Maybe pen shows commitment, pencil shows caution. It's very subtle, just more potential data points.
Now, to catch things that might have been missed, there's a very open question. What haven't I asked you about that you think I should know?
This can be golden. It gives them control. And often, really important stuff comes out here, things that are top of mind for them.
And for assessing social skills within teams, what's the most difficult time you've ever had with a coworker or family member?
This gets at how they handle interpersonal friction. The story they tell gives you insight into potential issues they might bring to a team dynamic.
And for understanding dislikes related to their job, what do you like least about doing it? You fill in the blank with a common task.
Simple, but helps profile what parts of the job might be a drag for them. And finally, the source mentions using a bait question structure.
Like, is there any reason to?
Yeah. It's a gentle way to probe something specific you might have found, maybe a gap on their resume, an unlisted employer from a background check. It invites them to explain without being directly accusatory.
Okay, so stepping back from all these specific questions and observation points, the big takeaway from this model isn't really about memorizing a list of questions.
Not at all. It's about shifting your mindset. It's about becoming a much keener observer during any interaction.
Seeing the conversation or interview as this rich field for gathering data.
Exactly. Watching how someone thinks on their feet, seeing the nonverbals, listening for those underlying patterns in their psychology and behavior that these questions are designed to bring to the surface.
Right. Understanding these techniques, it gives you a really powerful way to get genuine insight into someone's honesty, their motivations, how they handle things, their thinking style.
And ultimately, that crucial question of fit, are they right for this role, this team, this situation?
So you've now got a much deeper sense of how looking past the words, paying attention to all those subtle cues, can unlock so much information, even in a short amount of time.
It's about reading the whole person, not just listening to the answer sheet.
And maybe here's a final thought for you to chew on. If someone were applying these techniques while talking to you, what would your responses reveal? What hesitations, what eye movements, what stories might you tell? What hidden information might you be broadcasting without even realizing it? Thanks for joining me on this deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring and keep those minds open.